The tortilla press stopped mid-rhythm when the scream cut through the lunch rush chatter at Casa Rodriguez, not a scream of fear, worse. The entitled shriek of someone who'd mistaken a HOA clipboard for a crown and a neighborhood for a kingdom she ruled. This woman has been trespassed from this establishment. Veronica Ashford's voice could strip paint off adobe walls. She stood in the center of the dining room, designer blazer perfectly pressed despite the Texas heat, pointing an accusatory finger at my 76-year-old grandmother like she was a criminal in a police lineup. Effective immediately, she is banned from all Sunset Hills commercial establishments for repeated violations of community dining standards. My abuela, Carmen Rodriguez, matriarch of our family, survivor of immigration, builder of dreams, looked up from her plate of chile rellenos with confusion clouding her warm brown eyes. The fork trembled in her arthritis-gnarled hands. Around her, families froze mid-bite. Children stared. The mariachi music from our speakers seemed to mock the moment with its cheerful irrelevance. Señora Abuela said softly in her accented English, "I don't understand." "You understand perfectly," Veronica snapped, her clipboard wielded like a weapon. Section 47B of the Sunset Hills Community Standards explicitly prohibits elderly residents from monopolizing dining spaces during peak hours. "You've been here for," she checked her notes with theatrical disgust, "97 minutes. The recommended dining window is 45 minutes maximum." I stood frozen behind the host stand, my hands gripping the reservation book so tightly my knuckles went white. This was my restaurant. My family's restaurant. Built by my parents 32 years ago when this part of Austin was nothing but scrubland and dreams. And this woman, this self-appointed neighborhood dictator, was humiliating my grandmother in front of a dining room full of customers. That's when something inside me snapped. Not loudly, not dramatically. Just the quiet breaking of a man who'd spent months watching someone torture his family with bureaucratic cruelty and had finally reached the moment where silence became complicity. "Veronica," I said, my voice cutting through the dining room with the kind of calm that comes right before a storm. "You need to leave. Now." She turned, her face registering surprise that quickly curdled into contempt. "Daniel Rodriguez. Of course you'd defend her. Nepotism is exactly the kind of, 'get out of my restaurant.'" The words landed like stones in still water. Ripples of shocked silence spread through the room. Veronica's perfectly made-up face flushed red. "You can't speak to me that way. I'm the president of the Sunset Hills HOA, and according to our community charter, according to Texas law," I interrupted, walking slowly toward her with my phone already out. "I have the right to refuse service to anyone who harasses my customers. And you, Veronica, have been harassing my grandmother for 3 months. 3 months earlier, it had started innocuously enough, a complaint to our manager about an elderly woman taking up a 4-top table during lunch rush. When she learned Carmen Rodriguez was family, my father's mother, the woman who'd taught him every recipe we served, Veronica had made it her personal mission to document what she called the Rodriguez Restaurant Abuse of Community Dining Protocol. I'd seen her obsessive notes, photographed them when she'd left her precious clipboard unattended one afternoon. Subject arrived 11:47 a.m. Ordered only soup and coffee, $8.50 total. Remained until 1:23 p.m., 96-minute occupancy violation. Subject engaged server in 7-minute conversation in Spanish. Potential language discrimination against English-speaking diners. Subject's presence attracts other elderly residents, creating inefficient table turnover and reducing revenue potential for community tax base. My personal favorite, subject tested temperature of tortillas with fingers before consuming potential health code violation. Recommend immediate investigation. At first, I'd tried to handle it diplomatically. I'd explained to Veronica that Abuela came for lunch 3 times a week, always ordered something, never complained, and was beloved by our staff, that she was family, that this was as much her home as it was our business. Veronica's response had been to escalate. She'd filed formal complaints with the City of Austin Health Department, all dismissed. She'd demanded the HOA board investigate our discriminatory seating practices. She'd even staged a community concern meeting where she'd presented a PowerPoint titled Commercial Entities and the Erosion of Neighborhood Dining Efficiency Standards. Now, standing in my dining room with her clipboard and her contempt, Veronica was making her biggest mistake yet. "You're making a scene," she hissed, aware that every customer was watching. "This reflects very poorly on your establishment's commitment to community partnership." "What reflects poorly," I said quietly, "is a grown woman bullying a 76-year-old grandmother for the crime of eating lunch slowly." That's when my sister Maya burst through the kitchen doors, still wearing her chef's whites, face flushed from the heat of the line. She'd heard everything through the pass. "Daniel," Maya said, her voice dangerously calm in that way that meant someone was about to get destroyed. "Did this woman just try to ban Abuela from our restaurant?" "She did," I confirmed. Maya pulled out her phone without another word. "Perfect, I'm calling our attorney." "And, Mom?" In that order. The color drained from Veronica's face. "That's completely unnecessary." "Oh, it's necessary," Maya said, already dialing. "You've been stalking our grandmother for 3 months. You've filed false health complaints. You've interfered with our business operations. And now you've publicly humiliated an elderly woman in front of dozens of witnesses." Around us, customers started pulling out their phones too, recording. One woman I recognized, Sarah Chen, a regular who worked in tech, was already typing furiously, probably live tweeting the entire confrontation. Veronica realized she was cornered. Her eyes darted around the room, searching for support, finding only hostile stares and recording devices. "The HOA board will hear about this," she said, trying to regain authority. "Your family doesn't get to operate above community standards just because you've been here for years." "The charter is clear." "The charter," I interrupted, "has zero authority over private businesses. You know this. Your own board has told you this. But you've decided that your made-up rules matter more than basic human decency." Maya's voice cut through. "Attorney says to preserve all evidence and not engage further. Mom's on her way, and she's bringing the documentation." By documentation, she meant the massive folder we'd been building for months, every complaint Veronica had filed, every time she'd confronted Abuela, every obsessive note she'd made about dining times and food temperatures and the excessive Spanish language usage, creating an unwelcoming environment for English-speaking patrons. Veronica's hands tightened on her clipboard. "This is discrimination. I'm a paying customer. You can't refuse to serve me based on your pattern of harassment?" I finished. "Actually, we can. And we are. You're trespassed from Casa Rodriguez, effective immediately. If you return, we'll call the police for criminal trespass." Her mouth opened and closed like a fish drowning in air. Around us, a few customers actually applauded. Someone called out, "Good riddance!" Veronica's face contorted with rage and humiliation. "You'll regret this," she spat. "The HOA board will side with me. The community will side with me. You're destroying your own business by protecting my grandmother?" I asked. "Yeah, I'm real worried about that backlash." She turned on her designer heels and stormed out. The clipboard clutched to her chest like armor that had already failed. The door slammed behind her with a satisfying crash that made the decorative chili peppers rattle. For a moment, the restaurant was silent. Then Abuela spoke, her voice small and confused. "Mijo, what just happened?" I walked over to her table and knelt beside her chair, taking her weathered hands in mine. They were still trembling. "Nothing for you to worry about, Abuela," I said gently. "Just someone who forgot that restaurants are for people, not efficiency reports." She smiled then, but her eyes were wet. "She's been following me, you know, for weeks. Every time I come here, she sits nearby with that clipboard, writing things down. I thought maybe I was doing something wrong. My chest tightened with rage. You did nothing wrong." "Nothing." Maya brought over a fresh cup of Abuela's favorite café de olla, sweetened just how she liked it. "On the house," she said. even though everything Abuela ordered was always on the house. And Abuela, you can stay as long as you want, forever, if you feel like it. The other customers resumed eating, but several stopped by Abuela's table on their way out to express support. Mrs. Henderson, who'd been coming to Casa Rodriguez since before I was born, squeezed Abuela's shoulder. That woman's been terrorizing the neighborhood for 2 years. Someone needed to stand up to her. By the time lunch service ended, the story had already spread across Sunset Hills social media like wildfire. Sarah Chen's Twitter thread had gone viral. HOA Karen tried to ban a 6-year-old grandmother from her own family's restaurant for eating lunch too slowly. Thread with receipts. But I wasn't thinking about social media. I was thinking about the look on Abuela's face when Veronica had pointed at her like she was something broken, something wrong, something that needed to be removed. That night, after we'd closed, I sat in my office reviewing security footage. Maya knocked and entered without waiting for permission. "You okay?" she asked. "No," I admitted. "I keep thinking, what if we hadn't been here? What if Abuela had been alone?" "But she wasn't alone," Maya said firmly. "That's the point. And Daniel, we did the right thing. I wanted to believe her, but I also knew Veronica Ashford. She didn't lose gracefully. She'd be planning her counterattack right now, probably with that clipboard, drafting her revenge in bullet points and community charter violations. I was right to worry." The lawsuit arrived 4 days later. Not against Veronica, against us. Civil rights violation, age discrimination, and creating a hostile business environment. Our attorney Diego Fuentes read from the complaint, his voice tight with controlled fury. "She's suing Casa Rodriguez for $1.5 million and demanding a court order forcing you to implement age-neutral dining time restrictions for all patrons, regardless of familial affiliation." I sat in his downtown Austin office, Maya beside me, both of us too stunned to process the words for a long moment. Through the window, I could see the Capitol building gleaming in the afternoon sun. Everything looked normal out there. Inside, my world was collapsing. "She's suing us," I finally managed, "for discrimination, after she tried to ban our grandmother from our own restaurant for eating lunch." "Slapsuit," Diego explained, setting the complaint down with a gesture that looked almost gentle, like he was handling something diseased. "Strategic lawsuit against public participation. The goal isn't to win, it's to bankrupt you into submission. Make fighting back hurt so much that you apologize, settle, and let her back in the restaurant." Maya's hands were shaking. I watched her grip the armrest of her chair to steady them the same way Abuela's hands had trembled when Veronica pointed at her like she was garbage that needed removing. "Can she actually win this?" Maya asked, voice small. Diego hesitated just long enough to make my chest tighten. "In court? No, her case is nonsense, but she can make it hurt. Discovery, depositions, motions, court appearances. We're looking at 12 to 18 months of litigation. Legal fees will run $75,000 to $100,000 even when we win." The number hit like a fist to the gut. Casa Rodriguez was successful. We'd built something real over 3 decades, but we weren't swimming in cash. We employed 32 people. Our margins were decent, but not extravagant. We'd recently taken out a $200,000 loan to renovate the kitchen, bringing us up to health department standards for the next 20 years. A 6-figure legal bill would devastate us, potentially end us, which is exactly what Veronica was counting on. "There's more," Diego continued, pulling out more documents. "She's filed formal complaints with the Texas Restaurant Association, the Austin Chamber of Commerce, and the Better Business Bureau, all claiming you run a discriminatory establishment that prioritizes family members over paying customers." "That's insane," Maya said. "Half our regulars have been coming for 20 years. "Everyone knows Abuela. They love her." "Doesn't matter legally," Diego replied. "Veronica's betting that the threat of prolonged, expensive litigation will make you cave. She'll be expecting you to issue a public apology, pay her legal fees, probably around $30,000, and sign an agreement allowing her back in the restaurant with no consequences." "Never," I said immediately. Diego looked at me carefully. "Daniel, You need to understand what you're choosing. This will consume your life for the next year. Every dollar you make will go to legal fees. Every spare moment will be depositions and document review. Your business will suffer, it already is. Customers will avoid you just to stay out of the controversy. And there's always a risk, small but real, that you get an unsympathetic judge who buys her equal treatment argument. I looked at Maya. She was crying silently, tears running down her cheeks, but her jaw was set in that stubborn way that meant she'd already decided. "We fight," she said. "We fight," I agreed. But neither of us understood what we were agreeing to. Not really. Not until the nightmare actually began. The next morning, Veronica held a press conference on the sidewalk directly outside Casa Rodriguez. Not on our property, she was too smart for that, but close enough that our logo was visible in every shot. We watched it on Maya's phone from inside the restaurant, standing behind the closed blinds like criminals hiding from the law. Casa Rodriguez claims to be a community-focused, family-friendly establishment. Veronica told the gathered reporters, her voice pitched perfectly between hurt and determined. But the reality is far different. They've created a two-tier system where family members receive preferential treatment, unlimited time, unlimited space, sometimes free meals, while paying customers are expected to dine and leave quickly to make room for the next person. She held up a printed photo, one I recognized from our Instagram feed. Abuela at her booth, smiling, with a nearly empty plate in front of her and an elderly couple behind her waiting for a table. This was taken during Sunday lunch rush, Veronica continued. Peak business hours. This woman, a relative of the owners, had been occupying a four-top table for over 90 minutes, having ordered only a $9 soup and coffee. Meanwhile, this couple, she pointed at the people in the background, waited 40 minutes for a table. The worst part? The photo was real. The context was a lie. That couple were friends of Abuela's who'd actually joined her at the table, but no one watching knew that. When I attempted to address this pattern through proper community oversight channels, Veronica said, her voice breaking slightly in what I would have sworn was genuine emotion if I didn't know better, I was threatened, verbally abused, and ultimately banned from the premises. The Rodriguez family has made it clear. If you question their preferential treatment of family, you're not welcome. She dabbed at her eyes with a tissue. The cameras loved it. I'm not anti-family, she continued. I'm not against small businesses. I'm simply asking for fairness, for equal treatment, for the same standards applied to everyone. Is that really too much to ask? Reporter Amanda Price from KVUE, the one who'd been tough on Veronica at the first press conference, raised her hand. Mrs. Ashford, multiple witnesses say you've been following Mrs. Rodriguez around with a clipboard for months, documenting her dining habits. Isn't there something concerning about an HOA president stalking a 76-year-old woman? Veronica's expression shifted just for a second from victim to something harder. Then the mask slid back into place. I keep detailed records of community compliance issues, she said smoothly. That's part of my responsibility as HOA president. The fact that the subject of my documentation happens to be related to local business owners doesn't make the oversight any less valid. If anything, it makes it more important to ensure no conflicts of interest or preferential treatment. But the woman is the business owner's grandmother, Amanda pressed, which is exactly why oversight was necessary, Veronica said, her voice taking on an edge of righteousness. Family relationships shouldn't entitle anyone to unlimited restaurant space during peak business hours. That's not how a healthy commercial ecosystem works. Maya turned off her phone. She's good. She's practiced, I corrected, feeling something cold settle in my stomach. This isn't her first time manipulating a narrative, and it was working. Over the next 72 hours, the story exploded across Austin media and then went viral nationally. HOA president sues restaurant for family favoritism became one of those perfect social media controversies where everyone could pick a side and feel righteous about it. The comment sections were war zones. If this was my grandmother, I'd ban the stalker too. Family businesses should be allowed to treat family well. But she has a point though? Should restaurants give unlimited free space to family during rush hour? Seems unfair to paying customers. HOAs exist for a reason. Community standards matter. The Rodriguez family seems entitled. Are you kidding? She followed an elderly woman around with a clipboard. That's psychotic. Where's the line between family hospitality and discrimination against other customers? Genuine question. The division was exactly what Veronica wanted. Not universal condemnation that would make her the obvious villain. She wanted debate, doubt, a community turning against itself, while she positioned herself as the reasonable one asking fair questions. And God help me, it was working. Reservations started canceling, first a few, then dozens. Some people specifically called to tell us they supported us and would continue coming. Others canceled without explanation. A few actually left voicemails explaining that they didn't want to be seen supporting discrimination. Our Yelp page got bombed with one-star reviews from people who'd never eaten with us. Discriminates against non-family members. Avoid. Great food but terrible business ethics. Give tables to family while customers wait. Owner bans someone for asking reasonable questions. Not customer friendly. Diego filed motions to get the fake reviews removed, but the damage was done. Our rating dropped from 4.8 stars to 3.2 inches under a week. Worse were the customers who came specifically to gawk. They'd order the cheapest item on the menu, take photos of Abuela if she was there, and post them on social media with captions like, "Spotted," "The controversial grandmother," or "Is she taking up your table?" After 3 days of that, Abuela stopped coming to the restaurant entirely. "Mijo," she told me when I called to check on her, "I don't want to hurt your business." "Abuela, you're not hurting anything. That woman," she interrupted gently, her voice fragile in a way I'd never heard before, "she's trying to destroy you because of me. Your sister, your parents, all those people who work for you, they'll lose everything if this continues. Maybe if I just stay away, she'll stop." My hands were shaking so badly I had to put the phone down on my desk and put it on speaker. "This isn't your fault. None of this is your fault. I know, mijo. I know it's that woman's fault. But sometimes," her voice broke, "sometimes being right doesn't matter if being right costs the people you love everything they've built." After we hung up, I sat alone in my office, the same office where my father had taught me to review invoices, where my mother had shown me how to schedule staff, where I'd signed my first paycheck as co-owner, and I let myself break down. Not loudly, just silent tears running down my face while I looked at photos on my phone. Abuela, at the restaurant's grand reopening 5 years ago. Abuela teaching my nephew how to make tortillas. Abuela sitting in her booth by the window, smiling, belonging. And now she wouldn't even come here because Veronica Ashford had successfully weaponized her existence. Maya found me 20 minutes later. She didn't say anything. Just sat down in the other chair and cried with me. "What are we going to do?" she finally whispered. "I don't know. We're losing money. A lot of money." Diego says the trial won't even start for another 6 months, and that's if we're lucky. We can't sustain this. I wiped my face with the back of my hand. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying," Maya took a shuddering breath, "maybe we should consider settling. Just make it stop. Issue some corporate bullshit apology about regrettable misunderstandings. Pay her legal fees. Promise to implement time limits on all diners, including family. Move on. And let her win? She's already winning." Maya's voice rose, cracking with exhaustion and fear. "Look around, Daniel. Half our regulars are gone. The other half are terrified to be associated with us. Our employees are asking if their jobs are safe. Mom had a panic attack yesterday because she thinks this is somehow her fault for teaching us to stand up for family." She leaned forward, elbows on knees, face in her hands. "And Abuela won't even come here anymore because she's trying to protect us from the consequences of defending her. That woman has successfully made our grandmother feel like a burden, like she's the problem. And we can't even fix it because we're drowning in legal fees and PR disasters." I wanted to argue, to say something inspiring about principles and standing up for what's right. But the truth was, I was terrified. Terrified of losing the lawsuit. Terrified of the mounting legal bills. Terrified of having to lay off people who'd worked for us for years. Terrified of what this was doing to my family, to Abuela, to my parents, to Maya, who was supposed to be my partner in this, but was instead my partner in catastrophe. We have until Friday to respond to her settlement offer, I said finally, voice hollow. 72 hours. Let me think about it. Okay, Maya whispered. But Daniel? I'm not sure how much more of this I can take. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in my apartment staring at the ceiling, doing mental math that got worse every time I ran the numbers. Legal fees, $80,000 minimum, possibly $120,000. Lost revenue from canceled reservations, roughly $15,000 per week, compounding. Reputation damage, impossible to quantify but potentially business-ending. Emotional toll. Watching my grandmother stop living her life because a woman with a clipboard had decided she didn't belong. At 3 a.m., I opened my laptop and pulled up Veronica's settlement offer. Diego had sent it over with a note. This is extortion, but technically legal extortion. The terms were exactly what he'd predicted. 1. Public apology from Casa Rodriguez acknowledging misunderstandings and regrettable confrontation. 2. Payment of Veronica's legal fees $32,500. 3. Implementation of fair dining protocols, including 60-minute maximum table occupancy during peak hours for all diners. 4. Veronica allowed to return to restaurant with no restrictions. 5. Non-disparagement clause preventing the Rodriguez family from discussing the lawsuit publicly. I read it 3 times, feeling sicker each time. If we accepted, Veronica would have successfully bullied us into submission, stolen $32,500 from our family, and forced us to create rules that would humiliate every customer, including Abuela, if she ever came back with arbitrary time limits. If we refused, we'd face a year of litigation that might bankrupt us, destroy our reputation, and end with the same result anyway if we lost. My cursor hovered over the reply button. 1 email. 1 sentence. We accept your terms. That's all it would take to make it stop. I thought about what Abuela had told me weeks ago. The people who have everything to lose and fight anyway, those are the ones who change things. But she'd also said, sometimes being right doesn't matter if being right costs the people you love everything. So, which was it? When does standing on principle become selfish? When does fighting back become just another form of cruelty, not against the person attacking you, but against everyone caught in the crossfire? My phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. Mr. Rodriguez, this is Melissa Ashford, Veronica's daughter. We've never met, but I need to talk to you. It's urgent. Can we meet tomorrow? Please. I stared at the message for a full minute. Veronica's daughter? Was this a trap? Some new legal maneuver? But something in the phrasing, the please, the urgent, felt genuine. I texted back, coffee, 10 a.m., Mozart's on Lake Austin. I'll be wearing a blue shirt. Her response came immediately. Thank you. I'll be there. And Mr. Rodriguez? I'm so sorry for what my mother has done. I fell asleep with my laptop still open to the settlement offer, cursor blinking in the reply field, waiting for a decision I still didn't know how to make. The next morning, I sat at Mozart's outdoor patio watching kayakers glide across Lady Bird Lake, trying to remember when Austin had felt like home instead of a battlefield. Melissa Ashford arrived exactly on time. Early 40s, dressed professionally but not ostentatiously, carrying a leather bag that looked worn from actual use rather than designer display. Her face had the same bone structure as Veronica's, but softer, marked by something that looked like exhaustion and shame. Mr. Rodriguez, she said, extending her hand. Thank you for meeting me. I know you have no reason to trust anyone with my last name. Call me Daniel, I said, shaking her hand. And I'm here mostly out of curiosity. Your mother is currently trying to bankrupt my family. Why would her daughter want to help me? Melissa set down her bag and pulled out a tablet. Because I've been watching her destroy lives for 2 years, and I finally reached the point where staying silent makes me complicit. She opened a file folder and turned the tablet to face me. Financial records, HOA meeting minutes, email chains, bank statements. My mother, Melissa said quietly, has been embezzling money from the Sunset Hills HOA for 18 months. Vendor kickbacks, fake invoices for work that was never done. Shell companies registered to her maiden name that she uses to funnel association funds into her personal accounts. I stared at the documents, my coffee forgotten. How much? Approximately $180,000. Possibly more, I'm still finding accounts. The number was staggering. Why are you telling me this? Because the harassment of your grandmother wasn't about dining efficiency or community standards, Melissa said, her voice tight with controlled emotion. It was about distraction. My mother needed visible enemies, loud, controversial enemies, to keep the HOA board focused on manufactured outrage instead of looking at the books. She scrolled through the emails, showing me the timeline. The embezzlement had started in September 2023. The harassment of Abuela had started in December 2024. She needed someone to hate, Melissa continued. Someone the community could rally against or debate about. Your grandmother was perfect, an elderly woman at a family restaurant, easy to paint as either sympathetic or entitled depending on the spin. While everyone argued about her, no one noticed the missing money. Jesus Christ, I breathed. It gets worse. Melissa pulled up more documents. The lawsuit against you? She's paying her attorneys with embezzled HOA funds. The settlement she's demanding, including the $32,500 legal fee reimbursement, that's not going to her lawyers. That's going directly into her pocket to cover the money she's already stolen. I sat back, feeling dizzy. You have proof of all this? 18 months of documented proof. Bank records, invoices, email chains where she discusses the schemes with contractors who were in on it. Everything. Why not go to the police yourself? Melissa's face crumpled. Because she's my mother. Because I kept telling myself, maybe there was an explanation. Maybe I was misunderstanding. Because I've spent 2 years being a coward who protected a thief because I didn't want to be the daughter who sent her own mother to prison. Tears were running down her face now. But then I saw the video of her screaming at your grandmother, pointing at a 76-year-old woman like she was garbage, humiliating her in public. And I realized my mother isn't the person I remember. She's become someone I don't recognize. Someone who hurts innocent people for money and power and some twisted need to feel important. She pushed the tablet across the table. This is everything. Take it to your attorney. Take it to the police. End this before she destroys anyone else. I looked at the documents, evidence that could obliterate Veronica's lawsuit, restore our reputation, potentially send her to prison. Evidence given to me by her own daughter. Melissa, I said carefully, if I use this, your mother will know it came from you. She'll know you betrayed her. I know. She might never forgive you. I know, Melissa repeated, voice breaking. But I watched what she did to your family. Your grandmother stopped going to the restaurant she loves. Your sister is crying herself to sleep. You're considering settling a fraudulent lawsuit because fighting back is too expensive, and it's all because my mother is a thief who needed an enemy to hide behind. She wiped her eyes with a napkin. I can't fix what she's done. I can't undo the pain she's caused, but I can give you the truth. And maybe if she loses everything, if she faces real consequences, maybe she'll remember who she used to be before the embezzlement and the lies and the clipboard turned her into... I copied every file onto my phone, my hands shaking slightly. Melissa, this is incredibly brave. It's not brave, she said. Brave would have been stopping her 2 years ago. This is just the bare minimum of human decency. About 18 months too late. After she left, I sat on that patio for another hour, staring at the evidence on my phone, financial records that would destroy Veronica, email chains that would send her to prison. The ammunition to win not just our lawsuit, but to obliterate her completely. And I thought about Abuela's words, broken people break things. Veronica Ashford had broken herself with greed and fear and the need to matter, and in her breaking, she'd nearly broken my family, but now I had the power to break her completely, legally, justifiably, with her own daughter's help. The question was, what kind of person did I want to be when this was over? I called Diego. I need you to meet me at your office in 1 hour, I said. And you're going to want to see this. I almost deleted it, assuming it was spam or a supporter of Veronica's trying to harass us. But something made me open it. Mr. Rodriguez, you don't know me, but I'm Veronica Ashford's daughter. I'm attaching documents that I think you'll find useful in your defense. I can't stay silent anymore while my mother destroys lives for sport. I'm sorry for what she's done to your family. She wasn't always like this. Melissa? The attachments loaded slowly. Financial records, HOA meeting minutes, email chains, and then I saw it. Evidence that Veronica had been embezzling HOA funds for 18 months. Vendor kickbacks, fake invoices, shell companies registered to her maiden name. The targeting of my grandmother hadn't been about dining efficiency or community standards. It had been about distraction. Veronica needed enemies, loud, visible enemies, to keep the HOA board focused on manufactured controversies instead of looking at the books. She'd chosen Abuela as her target because an elderly woman at a family restaurant seemed like an easy, sympathetic villain to rally against. But her daughter had been watching, documenting, waiting for the right moment to act. I forwarded everything to Diego immediately. Then I called Maya. "We've got her," I said. The next HOA board meeting was supposed to be routine. Budget review, landscaping contracts, pool maintenance schedule. Instead, it turned into the trial of Veronica Ashford. Diego had worked with the Travis County DA's office to time everything perfectly. As Veronica stood to present her monthly report, 2 plainclothes detectives entered the room. "Veronica Ashford," the lead detective said, holding up his badge. "We have a warrant for your arrest on charges of embezzlement, fraud, and filing false police reports." The community room, packed with Sunset Hills residents, went dead silent. Veronica's face cycled through shock, denial, rage, and finally, calculation. "This is absurd. I've done nothing wrong. This is clearly retaliation by the Rodriguez family." "Ma'am," the detective interrupted, "your daughter provided us with 18 months of financial records showing systematic theft of HOA funds. We verified the documentation. You need to come with us." "Melissa?" Veronica's voice cracked. "My daughter? That's impossible. She would never." "She already did," the other detective said. "We can do this easy or hard, ma'am. Your choice." In the end, they let her out in handcuffs. The clipboard she'd clutched like a weapon for 2 years was left behind on the table, forgotten. The room erupted, board members demanding to see the evidence. Residents asking how much had been stolen. Someone actually started clapping. I sat in the back, watching it all unfold, feeling something complicated that wasn't quite triumph. Diego leaned over. "The DA is dropping all charges against you. The lawsuit is dead. It's over." "Is it?" I asked. Because the truth was, Veronica's arrest didn't undo the damage. It didn't give Abuela back her peace of mind. It didn't restore our lost revenue. It didn't erase the 3 months of harassment and fear. It was justice. But justice doesn't fix everything it touches. The local news coverage was brutal. HOA president arrested for embezzlement, used fake controversies to cover crimes. They showed the footage of her being let out in handcuffs. Played clips from her press conference where she'd called us discriminatory. Comment sections were merciless. She destroyed that family's reputation to cover her own crimes. Disgusting. This is why I'll never live in an HOA neighborhood. The daughter is a hero for turning her in. Within a week, Veronica's professional life had collapsed. Her real estate license was suspended pending investigation. The HOA board voted unanimously to pursue civil action to recover stolen funds. Her husband, a quiet man I'd met once, filed for divorce. By month's end, Her house was on the market. The listing price was $50,000 below market value. She needed to sell fast. I should have felt vindicated. Instead, I felt tired. One evening, I went to the restaurant after hours. Just me and the quiet. I sat in Abuela's usual booth and looked around at the empty dining room that my parents had built, that my grandmother had christened, that Veronica Ashford had nearly destroyed. My phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. Mr. Rodriguez, this is Melissa Ashford. I know you have no reason to listen to me, but I wanted to say something. My mother wasn't always like this. After my father left, something broke in her. She needed control, needed enemies, needed to matter to someone, even if the only way she knew how was to make people afraid. That doesn't excuse what she did, but I thought you should know, she's not a monster. She's just broken, and broken people break things. I'm sorry for what she did to your grandmother. Melissa, I read it 3 times. Then I thought about what Abuela had said. Some battles are worth the cost. We'd won the battle, but the cost had been enormous for everyone, including Veronica. The next morning, Abuela came back to the restaurant. She walked in, slowly, hesitantly, like she was testing whether the space still belonged to her. I met her at the door. Welcome home, Abuela. She smiled, but her eyes were uncertain. That woman, she's really gone? She's really gone. And she won't come back? Never. Abuela nodded slowly. Then she walked to her usual booth, the one by the window where she could watch the street. Maya brought her café de olla without being asked. Our head server, Elena, squeezed her shoulder gently. And gradually, over the course of that lunch service, the restaurant began to feel right again. Customers stopped by the table to welcome her back. Mrs. Henderson brought flowers. The Chen family's kids drew her a picture. Even people who'd never met her came over to introduce themselves. They'd seen the news coverage, they said, and wanted to thank her for standing strong. I watched from the host stand, feeling the weight of the past months finally start to lift. But I also knew that Veronica Ashford would be in my thoughts for a long time. Not with hatred, something more complicated. Pity, maybe, for a woman who destroyed herself trying to matter. Sadness for the family she'd fractured. Understanding that sometimes people become villains not because they're evil, but because they're desperate and broken and don't know any other way to feel powerful. That didn't excuse what she'd done, but it humanized it, made it real in a way that pure villainy never could be. A week after Abuela's return, I got a call from Diego. The HOA recovered $180,000 in stolen funds. He said, Veronica's house sold. She's moving to San Antonio. Her daughter helped coordinate full restitution. And the criminal charges? Pending trial. But between the evidence and her daughter's testimony, it's open and shut. She's looking at 2 to 5 years. 2 to 5 years? For a woman who'd wielded a clipboard like a scepter, who'd believed that documenting other people's lives gave her own life meaning? Diego, I said, do me a favor? What? If they reach out about a plea deal, tell them we won't oppose it. We just want this over. You're being generous. I'm being tired. I corrected, and maybe a little bit human. The final chapter came months later at the closing for Veronica's house. The new owners, a young family with 2 kids, were excited about the neighborhood. I knew because they'd been coming to Casa Rodriguez for Sunday brunch. The closing attorney, another regular customer, called me that afternoon. Thought you'd want to know, he said. Veronica left something for you. She couldn't face delivering it herself, but she asked me to pass it along. What is it? A letter. It arrived by courier the next morning. Plain white envelope, my name written in shaky handwriting. I almost threw it away, but curiosity won. Mr. Rodriguez, I don't expect forgiveness. I don't even deserve the chance to apologize. But I need you to know that what I did was never about your grandmother. It was about me. About feeling powerless in my own life and needing someone, anyone, to control. I chose your family because you seemed strong enough to handle it. That was cruel. That was wrong. Your grandmother never deserved what I put her through. None of you did. I've lost everything, and I understand that's justice. but I still wanted you to know I saw the picture on the news of her sitting in your restaurant again, smiling. That made me happy. Not because I think it earns me anything, but because she deserves to be happy. She always did. I hope you and your family find peace. I don't expect you to wish the same for me. Veronica Ashford. I folded the letter carefully and put it in my desk drawer. Not to treasure, not to forgive, just to remember. That evening, the restaurant was packed. Abuela sat at her usual booth, staying for 2 full hours, talking to Elena about her grandchildren, testing the temperature of fresh tortillas with her fingers the way she always had, existing in the space her grandson had protected for her. Maya caught my eye from across the dining room and smiled. Our parents were there too, sitting at the bar, watching their mother be herself again. And I thought about what Abuela had told me all those months ago. The people who have everything to lose and fight anyway, those are the ones who change things. We hadn't just defeated Veronica Ashford. We'd proven that family restaurants could stand up to HOA tyrants, that elderly grandmothers had the right to eat lunch slowly. That community meant protecting each other, not controlling each other. It had cost us tens of thousands in legal fees. Lost revenue. Sleepless nights. The kind of stress that leaves scars even after the wounds heal. But looking at Abuela, laughing with Elena, safe in the restaurant her family built, I knew we'd made the right choice. Sometimes courage isn't about being fearless. It's about being terrified of what fighting back might cost, and doing it anyway. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is refuse to let someone tell your grandmother she doesn't belong. And sometimes, the victory isn't in the villain's defeat. It's in the quiet moment when someone who was made to feel small realizes they're allowed to take up space again. The mariachi music played. Families ate. Laughter echoed off adobe walls. And in a booth by the window, a 76-year-old woman tested the temperature of tortillas with her fingers, taking exactly as long as she damn well pleased.